let's come on to that, because that is a question that I get a lot.
Okay.
One is, are you sitting in a meeting with Doug Marone?
Yeah.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of the X's and O's podcast. We're coming to you live and direct from London in the X's and O's HQ. It's your boy Mr. Selenke, and in the room with me today we have probably the most controversial person in the X's and O's team at the moment. in Bam Bam.
I stay by what I say.
I say what I said.
I said it, and I said it with my chest.
Well, you said it with your chest and props, innit? We've got the Bronze Bomber. We've got your voice of reason.
What's going on, people?
And we've got a very special guest with us today.
I'm honoured, guys. I'm honoured. I don't deserve the round of applause. I ain't done anything yet.
Coach Andy, you say you haven't done anything, but I feel like I think you've done enough. But that's for you to say. So without further ado, we'll give you the spotlight and allow you to introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you do, I guess, and also how you got into the sport.
How did I get into the sport? Let's tackle that one first. So I was a basketball guy. I grew up playing basketball. Then I found football late. I was like 28-ish when I played my first game for the Exiles. I got into it because I met a guy called Harry Innes. We all know Harry Innes. And he convinced me to come down to Exiles, tried out with them, played for a little bit, quickly realised I was too old. So I
Never too old.
A lot of hits, man. I was taking a lot of hits. So got into coaching. I decided that was the way I was going to go. Spoke to Greenwich Mariners. Hooked up with those guys at the time. Marcus Room was down there as head coach. And I just basically started coaching with those guys at the university level. Got into that. Just loved it. So loving the coaching. Continued playing for about 3 more years for the Exiles, and then basically called it a day with that. Went on to just coaching from that point on. So I coached university ball. I've now been there 10 seasons total.
Wow. 2
with Greenwich and 8 seasons with Surrey. Coached 80 uni games as head coach now. So
illustrious, man.
Busy times. And then in my day job, I work for Jags UK. We deliver a program called JagTag, which is touch-based, tag-based American football, and that's all across the country now. Wow. Started off in London, and then moved regional. So now we're in different locations, 24 cities across the cities and towns across the UK. So
that's a big feat, man. That's
Me personally, I'm a little bit selfish in it. I want to know how the Jags thing came about, because for me personally, you are someone that's started playing American football, fell in love with it, and one of the best things I say in life to do is to be able to work in something that you love. So for me, I just want to know how that came about, what you had to do, sort of thing. And
so what happened there was I was obviously coaching at the university level. I was coaching in BAFA level at that point as well. In 2014, I was coaching with the Exiles. In 2015, I was coaching Exiles Juniors. And then in 16, I went to the Warriors, London Warriors. So Coach Tony Allen basically said to me, I know that you're kind of not happy in your job at the moment. There's an opportunity coming up, because he'd heard of this opportunity coming up. So he put myself and 2 other of the Warriors coaches forward for this position. And basically I was successful of those 3 guys. Started off on a temporary contract, a part-time contract. And that was it was a weird setup, because I was working for Fulham Football Club's foundation. Because of the safeguarding and the insurance and all of that stuff around it. So that's how the program kind of kicked off. So I was fortunate. I was in the right place, right time.
Sometimes that's how it works.
Honestly.
Also, they like my background. They like the fact that I was involved in the British game and stuff like that. So I was just really lucky to be in that right place, right time.
Keeping with the theme of the Jaguars flag football, Because I think it was last year when we went to the Allianz Stadium. I think it was before. I want to say it was the Bears and Bengals. Maybe I can't remember who was playing at Wembley, but we went to the media day and some of the practice as well. And you guys had the JagTag there, didn't you? You know, quite a lot of the guys taking part in the activities. I guess what I want to know is how do kids get involved in that? Because I know they also had Big Kids Foundation who came down and supported the cause as well. But like for the younger guys out there, younger guys and girls, how do they take part in JagTag?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Firstly, the that event at Allianz was ahead of the Jags Texans game.
Ah, okay.
So that's what it was, because all of the activity we do ramps up to the game. That is the main thing. The main event is the game in the UK.
Yes.
And that's what the Jags are trying to do, is get more people, get more fans to be involved in the game overall, but also, you know, it's a commercial entity, so they're trying to create Jags fans as well. But yeah, that was a great day. We invited 6 schools down from different areas all across London, played on field with the guys there. So yeah, that was fantastic. Getting on to how do people get involved in JagTag. So basically as I said, the program's gone national now. So if you're in a school in London or in Manchester or in any of these cities that we're in, like we run it through multi-sports providers now. So like as an example, there's one in Manchester called EdStart, and we will come in, train those guys on how to teach, and then they will provide that to the schools, basically. But the program's like ever expanding. That's the best bit. Also, we try and backwards link it to like BAFA clubs as well. So cadet flag, cadet teams, youth teams. The slight problem there is that a lot of clubs in BAFA level don't have cadet teams, or they don't have youth teams. So like that can be quite hard. If you live in a certain area in London and you play JagTag at your school, you might not have a progression. So you might just be coming in, playing and going home. Whereas a lot of those kids, they're asking me like, where can I play? Where can I play at club level? And unless it's like, you know, Warriors, Blitz, Exiles, Stallions, they've all got like youth programs, cadet programs. But there's big gaps of like London, there's big gaps of other cities where there's nothing going on. So I feel like the link between youth football, cadet football and football in schools, which I know you've already covered on another episode, that needs to kind of be moulded together so that, you know, kids can continually play.
Do you reckon that coaches across teams in London and surrounding areas should be going into schools with like some JagTag Big Kids Foundation to bring American football into schools? So that the kids could progress.
No, I get what you're saying. I think the way that we've got to look at that is to kind of flip it around and say like, do they have the right things in place before they go into these schools? So everyone's talking right now about like this rule of 6 thing. I got my own rule of 6, right? Here it is. So you got to have a company set up first. This is what people don't realise. In order to go into a school, you got to have a company set up. Then you got to have insurance. Then you got to have DBS, safeguarding, emergency first aid, and a level 1 qualification. If you haven't got those 6 things, you shouldn't be teaching in schools. It's that simple, right? So you've got to go through a lot of things in order to get there. But yeah, those youth coaches, those cadet coaches, they could be doing that, but through the entity of the club. So if the club was set up and it was registered and insured, then they could approach the schools and say, you know, we want to come in and we want to deliver this version of American football. Or they could come to Jags UK and we can see if we can service that kind of business. Also, not forgetting that NFL UK with their flag program, their subway program, led by Jason. That's like huge as well. And obviously BAFA are trying to get their own schools program launching as well. I think Ali Reid's heading that up as well. So people are in the right places now to further develop that kind of stuff. So
I guess it kind of makes sense. My bad, Bronze, I guess it kind of makes sense of what you're saying, because, like you said, we had Kenny of UK Jukes here, not so long ago, and he mentioned, and Coach Excel, they mentioned something about how difficult it is to get into schools. And now that you've mentioned your 6-step process, it's quite clear that it's not as easy as just walking into a school and getting it signed off. And even if you do, the other thing you mentioned was the drop off. If you don't have the things in place to be able to, or the team in the area to be able to get these kids to continue the sport, they'll play it, they'll go home, they'll ask questions to their teachers about why they can't play anymore, and then it kind of just falls off.
That's exactly it, man. And I think that what you're saying there, you've hit a good nail on the head, is that they've got to have something to either progress to or something that they can learn from.
Yes.
So if you're like a club and you're coming in and you're teaching kids, then those coaches are going to be experienced, and there's going to be, it's going to be a good session. So they're going to want to stay with the sport. Yeah. Also, they need to see a pathway that they can go to. You know, like, because they're not going to play the sport for no reason. They want to progress. They want to get to games. They want to get their friends involved. They want to have fun with it and all of that. Here's a controversial bit though. There's there's some coaches that are not suitable to teach in schools. Because they go down this hardline route of coaching rather than having fun. Like, you have to have fun with the kids. Like, make the game simplified. If you're talking technical knowledge and all of that stuff, you're going to lose them quick. So there's a lot of people out there that maybe, they can't do that, but that's okay as well. It's not for everyone. The best coaches at like cadet level and the best coaches at flag level in schools that I've found are people that are just passionate about the game and people that are passionate about fun. Not the technical side of it. Like, you can almost, if you're too much of a high level coach, you can sometimes coach yourself out of that.
That makes sense.
Couldn't agree more. Who do you think the onus is on to make sure that bridge between the stuff that you guys are doing and sort of youth football is? Who like you said, there's a lot of teams that just have a senior team and then maybe an under-19s team, and that's where it stops. Whose responsibility is it to make sure that there's a certain amount of teams that have junior or cadet football, so that the guys that are coming out of school can, like you said, naturally progress? Because the last thing that we want is for kids to be finishing school or finishing the schemes that you guys are doing, and they're like, well, there's no else for me to play football. I'm going to go back to playing basketball or soccer or rugby.
It's both like Jags UK or NFL UK. On the emphasis is to get into as many places as they can, but also let's flip it around. Why do the cadet and youth teams need to have a senior team above them? Why can't they just operate independently?
That's true.
There's not enough of this at the moment. Everyone's so focused on let's set up an adult team and then work backwards. I'm saying let's set up a cadet team and work forward. Like, if you got guys that are like 8, 9, 10 years old, under 12s, and then under 14s, and you don't have to put kit on. So you could run like 3 levels without even kit. Right, and then just progress that into, that becomes a youth team when you get those graduating guys that are coming through, staying with the program. So these things, these flag football things that are being set up in certain areas around the country, I massively encourage that for a start. I think people need to flip it around. And if you want to get the development of all of these guys in the future, you've got to start them young.
That is what grassroots is, isn't it?
Shout out to the Exiles. Exiles do this festival of football, which is
amazing, man.
Kid orientated, and that's just a day in itself. It's like a massive fun fair for kids to just have fun with football and learn, and actually display their talents. Some would have that talent at a young age, but some would just do it to just have fun. And I think more teams should, incorporate that, or maybe mimic what like the Ken Exiles do, and have festivals of football and link it, and kids travel around, parents travel around, and let's spread football. One thing I was going to ask you, just kind of outside of it, like focusing on you, like in terms of like your job, and like what's it like to be like a JagTag or Jaguars employee? I mean, because obviously I work and I have like supervision. Like, do you have supervision? Is your like team meetings with
DJ
NFL, and, anybody from the NFL? Like, what's it like? Because obviously you have to.
Let's come on to that, because that is a question that I get a lot.
Okay.
One is, are you sitting in a meeting with Doug Marone?
Yeah.
No, the answer's no.
Okay.
And the second one is always about the money, which is really frustrating as well, because they say, the owner's a billionaire and you've got this much money. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not funding that? Especially when I started, everyone was there with their hands out. Well, it doesn't really work like that, because, like I said before, it's a commercial entity, so they got budgets.
Okay.
Part of the budget that they run is what happens in the UK. And that has its own like segregated amount of funds that we can use in order to get things going. There's reporting lines. There's 4 people that work for the Jags UK, and
wow.
Obviously I report into the senior vice president, and he in turn reports back to those guys in Jacksonville. We're definitely like integrated into the team, the wider team, so that's really good. But yeah, there's constraints in any job, but the good thing is that he's a very good boss, and he lets us, expand the way that we need to expand, understands all of the metrics that we need to hit, all of the stats that we want to achieve, but also the wider like teaching of the kids the game. Because the more fans of football, full stop, in the UK, the better that is for everyone.
And it's understanding the culture, because the culture over here is different from the culture, overseas, And obviously you will probably know that, for somebody as skilled as yourself in terms of working with kids and knows the difficulties that can come even from parents, not alone, the children themselves.
Here's the thing: it's a niche sport. It's not widespread. I think when NFL teams come over here, initially they forget that we've got football, rugby, cricket. I can name like five or six sports before we even get to anyone talking about our sport, right? Whereas in the States it's flipped. It's football, basketball. That's pretty much what you're going to be playing from an early age.
Track and field.
So we're doing like crossover athlete kind of situation where we're saying, if you play rugby, you'll be good at this. If you play basketball, you're good at this element of the game. Netball was one that blew my mind for the girls, because it's movement. It's movement without the ball, so that replicates what we're doing in flag football.
True.
Basketball, all of that stuff. So we're trying to, I wouldn't say convert kids from one sport to another, but what happens in a lot of schools is kids fall between the cracks. So they'll be like really good at football, really good at rugby, really good at basketball, and all the ones that are like fairly average at those sports, they don't feel as connected with that sport. So then we come in and say, try this one. It's an equalizer. Everyone is on the same level. So if you start on the same level as someone, you're going to be like, I like this. And it's mixed as well. And mixed is a big thing, because a lot of schools still do male sport, female sport. You're male, you play football. You're female, you play netball. Whereas like JagTag's inclusive. Flag football's inclusive.
True.
So that's another good thing.
How do you sell? I'm not sure. Well, if it's you directly, how would you sell American football to a parent? Obviously, where you're connecting with kids and they're going to say, they're wearing all this gear, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, at their age, we know that they're not going to be wearing the pads and the helmets and stuff. But for a parent that's just heard of American football, hasn't really watched it or whatnot, how would you sell it to them?
Take out the element of contact straight away. So firstly, I'll talk about flag and fundamentals, and a lot of what we do, I even changed the way we were approaching schools in regards to American football. I would take that out of the dialogue completely and just say touch-based, tag-based, American, like a touch-based, tag-based game, basically. So you hear American football, you think contact, you think concussions, etc., etc. If you're a parent, then you're going to be like a little bit nervous about that. So take that out, then work with the school or the parents to say, if you learn correct fundamentals in any sport, then you're going to be much better position to not get injured. Think about rugby.
I was
a lot of people
say,
start with rugby and they're like, that doesn't come up because it's so ingrained into us. But that's just much a dangerous sport, with concussions and neck injuries and all that stuff. So, it's starting from the bottom again, and I keep going back to it, and then working your way up. I personally would never advise anyone who's like 16, 15, 14 to start with pads. I think that's wrong, personally. I think you need to play a bit of flag, a bit of understanding of the fundamentals of the game, and then progress into like that light contact stuff, and then full contact.
Yeah, most definitely.
And keeping with the theme of the Jags, I believe the Jags camp was supposed to be, was it this year? Well, June, July, was that right?
Yeah, it's always in July.
Always in July, which obviously had to be cancelled for reasons I'm not going to mention again. But what is that like? I've not been myself, and I know some people have been. What does that camp entail? I believe there's an application process. Obviously, there's a fee to be paid as well. Yeah. But what are guys and girls getting from that camp?
Yeah, so the Jags Academy is what we call it.
Okay.
That is a 3-day residential event. The first event was in Loughborough, and now since then we've been in Brunel University. Very good location, just outside London. So many upsides to that campus as well. Facilities are great. People can register to just come down to that, and you're right, they do pay a fee. That's to cover the accommodation and the meals. But this is a camp that you can't get this experience outside of the US, because you're getting like alumni players who act as coaches. You're getting the top European coaches. So Tony Allen again organises a lot of that. And brings in like his coaching staff as well. So if you're a young player, there's the minimum requirement as well is you have to have your own kit and played 1 year of football.
Oh, okay. Wasn't right.
And that is because of like safety concerns.
I like that though, yeah, I do like that. Because
a lot of guys were showing up and never played football before, strap on the helmet and the pads, and it's like, okay, this is tough because we've got to teach you from scratch. So you want a base level, minimum level of people in there. So yeah, it's a fantastic event. Like I can't stress that enough. Every year, guys have left that just so much better. There's on-field workouts. Do 2-a-days and then film sessions at night, and you review what you've done in that session as well. And it'll be like Tony Baselli, Jags O-line legend, talking you through what you've done as an O-lineman on that day, like Mark Brunel with the quarterbacks, stuff like that. And that knowledge, just being in that room, is invaluable. That's going to lift your game up like loads.
I can imagine.
Ridiculous. This is like, when we talk about like film and stuff, and teams needing to review film and do. This is what we need all across the board. Like, can you imagine that? Going into a room, having your practice, and then whatever, mingling with your teammates, and then having a film review of your day on the day. That's so sick.
It almost sounds like how like Britball teams, how we have
residential camps.
Yeah, residential camps. Yeah, I remember some that I had with Exiles, which were dope. Like exactly how you mentioned it. You go, you have your training. You go eat together, then you go have your film session. It's just like you can't get any better. Although again, it's only like a 3-day thing, which we normally have, but. That sounds unreal. Yeah,
it's incredible. And the coaches obviously fly in on like the Thursday night, and then it goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then we were doing the coaches camp on the Sunday, and that was for BAFA coaches to come and learn from NFL guys.
Oh wow! So the coaches get in on it too.
Like, so that was a good thing. We stopped that in the last year. But in previous years, that was a really good thing as well.
So I've got 2 questions. One, why aren't a lot more NFL teams doing what you guys are doing, especially in the UK, knowing the massive pool that we have, knowing that we sell out Wembley and Tottenham Stadium year in, year out? And 2, why aren't the powers that be, and the powers that be, I'm speaking about BAFA, why aren't they leaning on you guys a lot more, in my opinion anyway, to do loads more of these camps or get into a lot more of these schools? Because in my opinion, that's where it starts, especially at grassroots. That's where it starts. The guys that are playing ball now are either going to retire, can't be asked to play. the creme de la creme are potentially going to go to the CFL, but every single baller I asked that's got to that level of European ball or the NFL International Combine or the CFL Combine have said, I wish I started playing this sport a lot earlier. So.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few questions in there. The first one is the Jags have the exclusive rights from, well, it was from 2012 originally for 4 years.
Wow.
And that took us to 2016. Then from 2016 to 2020, they basically are like the UK team. Because they kind of have those rights to all activity in the UK, that's why we can do those things basically. And other teams can still do certain activities in the UK through NFL UK, but they don't have that kind of situation. With regards to linking the activities back to BAFA, I mean, we do that through JagTag, as in the pathway program, getting kids from JagTag like schools and sessions into BAFA teams. There's quite a big emphasis on that, obviously, from us to them. But yeah, you know, the other side of it, like BAFA leaning on the NFL, that doesn't really work because the NFL again is a commercial entity. They're trying to, you know, do activities that are going to promote the teams, also the wider sport, and then the games in London. Everything works on a cycle of those games in London, and then all activity going through the year to promote those games.
Cool. So what do you think what do you think is going to happen, or what do you envisage is going to happen with the NFL UK and also yourselves with no games happening in London this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because like we all know what's going on in the world at the moment, and that kind of sucks. I think they'll focus more on the grassroots stuff at the moment. The NFL Academy is obviously like doing really well at the moment. There's a lot of initiatives that I'm hearing about that they're going to try and pursue, which are grassroots based. Obviously, like JagTag and the other programs that we do on a grassroots level can still operate. But yeah, it is a massive blow. It is a massive blow that the games are not going to be here from a fan's perspective. It's also a lot of people that are not involved in the sport as playing or coaching. They're just people that the NFL's grown so much in the UK. So it's a shame for them as well.
What do you put that down to? Do you think that's down to the NFL UK, or do you think that's down to us as people that are passionate about the sport?
Combination of the two, really. I think the NFL's marketing is really good. They also really good at social channels as well. And that's bringing in the new kids like YouTube, all of the Twitter and all of that, and like that's getting kids into it because they're seeing these little highlight clips, and that's making them think, I want to play that sport. And then they start investigating it, and then if someone's in their school teaching it, it's like, well, you know, I've seen this player making this one hand catch, I'm gonna go down and
try and do the same.
Get them in. I'm so for that, you know, like just let them have fun, get them in, you know, let them try and reenact some of the things they've seen, like promote the game. So it's great. But yeah, I think the NFL are doing a fantastic job of growing the game over here as well. And then there's a lot of people, you know, like yourselves, like us, that are like really passionate about it, coaching, you know, working hard on our teams. Like shout out to game day managers and people like that as well. They're the unsung heroes of the UK. Like some of these people are just fighting with all the admin, fighting with all the pitches and the weather and all that.
Me personally, I do a lot of jobs, but painting a pitch is one that I've done in the past. But man, it's not fun. It's not fun.
I've painted lines in the field, man.
In the rain.
In the rain. Oh man!
You look behind you and it's
gone. In the snow, man. Bloody, you look
behind you and you're like, "Where's the line gone?"
On that note, I think before we wrap up quickly, can you leave us with one of the best moments you've had so far with regards to the Jags, or in any sort of walk of life to do with American football?
Oh wow, that's a tough one. So many things in the last, like, almost 4 years of working for the Jags now. I'd say I get on with so many guys that I've met through the Jags as well. Josh Lambo being one of the better ones. He's such a nice guy. I'd say the big events, to be honest, like that one at Allianz, where we had 8 schools on the field. We had a lot of kids down there. There was a particular one that I'm really proud of, and that was in Burgess Park.
Okay.
Like down in like Peckham sort of area, and we had Jalen Ramsey.
Oh man.
Josh Lambo. And we had, I think it was 8 schools from various areas across London all came down and played the JagTag tournament. So we did like 7v7 games, like times 3 pitches, and then we did like a rotation of activities. I had about 12 or 15 guys working with me on that day as well, from BAFA, like from different clubs and different people I knew from the uni ball scene. And the teachers, the feedback on that event was phenomenal. They were buzzing for weeks.
That's what it's all about, man.
Goes to show, I guess, that put in the work and the results will come in it. The kids are interested. But on that note, we'll wrap it up there. Make sure you guys stay tuned, and thank you for listening. We definitely got some more episodes coming soon. We got another one coming with special guest Coach Andy, Coach Mike even. So make sure you stay tuned. Tune into everything X's and O's, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Keep it locked. Everything X's and O's. Peace.